Haribo, Ansi Mataji, Akhil, Adinath, Kennedy, Vicky, and all those who joined online. I cannot see now. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming for the Bhakti Sastri. Naveen, Sukomala, Shorab, Rupali, Hare Krishna. So thank you for joining for the Bhakti Shastri class. Today we'll do the second chapter of Gita and part 1 of the second chapter. But before we start, as usual, we'll offer our Mangalacharan prayers and then we can get started. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Yadvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the first class we had the first chapter of Gita for this semester, and we discussed at length about the reasons Arjuna gives to Krishna on why he will not fight the battlefield of Kurukshetra. They were religious, they were personal, they were psychological, they were social. Many reasons are given on why Arjuna declines to fight the battlefield. And we discussed at the end, Arjuna made his determination. He said to Krishna, "O Govinda, I shall not fight this battle." And he takes his bow, which is Gandiva, and he just keeps it aside. So we'll start from the second chapter, first verse. Before we get into second chapter, first verse, I'll just give a brief overview of second chapter. The second chapter, in one sense, actually Srila Prabhupada writes, it's titled Contents of Gita Summarized. The entire instructions of Gita are there in second chapter, but not all of them are very explicit. Some of them are in the very seed form. The second chapter has 72 verses. The first up to 7 verses or 8 verses, it is the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna that further continues. And the Lord starts his instruction from I think 10th or 11th verse of second chapter. And it goes on. So it's divided into 72 verses, as I said earlier. So till the 30th or the 31st verse, Krishna talks about the nature of soul and body. And he gives it in a very analytical fashion. There is pure logic. There is not much of scripture involved, not much of... He just gives logical, analytical outline of what is the difference between body and soul. And from the verse 31 to 37 or 38, which is what we are hoping to complete till today, will be that Krishna is reminding Arjuna about his duty. He said that, okay, till now I talked analytically. Now, talk about your duty. You think that you can get away with not doing work. That's not true. And he gives the reason why he does. And then the latter part, from 38 onwards, Krishna talks about working without fruitive results, or Nishkam Karma Yoga. He talks about what is the result when one works without having any fruitive mentality of this world, and what is fruitive mentality, and so on and so forth are discussed. In the 56th verse, Arjuna asks Krishna, you are giving this beautiful yoga, and you are giving all these things, and you are describing how a person who is of steady intelligence is situated. But what are the characteristics of those persons? What are the... how does he walk? How does he talk? What does he do? So from 57th, 58th verse all the way till 72 verse, Krishna explains the characteristics of the person who is sthita prajna, or firmly spiritually realized. So that's kind of the outlay of this chapter. So far, so good? Okay. Yes, thank you. So next, let's go to the first verse. One other point I wanted to mention is this. Bhagavad Gita is seen as very philosophical book. As in, it's pretty philosophical, let's be honest about it. But it arose from a serious emotional crisis that Arjuna was having. So, and why I said that, we'll come to that in a little bit, but let's start with the verse number 1. Kindly repeat after me. Sanjaya uvacha tam tata kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. Mataji, what's your name? Shweta. Shweta Ramaya. Yes, perfect. So you go first, and then Adinath can go, and then in that way we can go all the way to the back. You have to just... the translation, just the translation.
Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna spoke the following words.
Thank you. Next verse. Verse number 2, Mataji. No, I have to do the Sanskrit. Thank you. Sri Bhagavan uvacha Kutastva kashmalamidam Vishame samupastitam Anarya justam asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy.
Here, Krishna's reaction is rather surprising. He is the supreme absolute truth. Imagine that there is the Super Bowl and you have the most MVP, or your MVP is there ready out to set, and then you have to win the Super Bowl World Cup, and he goes into the field and he's like, sorry, I'm not going to play. And the coach is, what? Right? Something like that. Please understand that Arjuna and Krishna were still friends at this point of time. And that's why Arjuna, though he is the supreme absolute truth, he knows everything, he still acted surprised. He's like, really? Okay, next verse. Please do take time to read purports. I can't stress it enough. It was so beautiful. We'll probably get into one purport today and discuss at length. Klaibyam asmagama partha naitattvai upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvotishtha parantapa. Okay. She already has. So. Good. No, his throat? Yeah.
O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
Thank you. So Krishna is still continuing. We'll go on the next verse, please. Arjuna uvacha katam bhishmam aham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubi pratiyotsyami puja harvari sudhana.
Translation. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battlemen like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship?
Thank you. You can give the mic to Kennedy. So we can see now, even though in 2 verses Krishna expressed surprise, Arjuna is not ready to give up his position yet. He was not scared and he was, oh my God, you don't like it, Krishna, let me change. No, he was like, but still, he says the same thing right now, that how can I kill? Will you kill your teacher and grandfather that you are asking me to kill? The Acharyas have mentioned like that Arjuna indirectly is challenging Krishna, would you kill your own grandfather and your own teacher, but you are asking me to do it. So the meter changes slightly, but you are pros, so it shouldn't be a problem. Guru nahatva hi mahanubhavan Shreyo bhuktum bhaikshyamapi haloke Hatvarta kamamstu guru nihaiva Bhunjiya bhogan rudira pradigdhan.
It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood.
Thank you. We go back to the chapter 1 and the verse number 36 we discussed at length. where Arjuna said, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. And we discussed at length about how Prabhupada writes in the purport that there are 6 kinds of aggressors. One who sets fire to the house, poison, attacks with deadly weapons, kidnaps wives, and usurps land, and so on and so forth. And Kauravas were guilty of each of those charges, not just one of those charges. And so there was no harm in killing the Kauravas. And we discussed at length why did Arjuna mention that sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. And we discussed it at length, and we came to the conclusion that if the aggressors are your superiors, then you cannot forget even killing them or assaulting them physically. Even a verbal fight cannot be offered to such personalities. And then he is repeating the same thing here. He is saying that, look, I can't kill my own teacher and my grandfather. And even if I enjoy the kingdom after that, it'll be just tainted with blood. The Gita at the very outset, we talk of ethics, morality, integrity. Gita at the very outset just, doesn't even bother to not say that. It's like, it's implicit in your duty. You cannot just think, because Arjuna at this point of time, he and his family members have been in the forest for 12 years, 1 year incognito. They had undergone severe tribulations throughout their life, harassed by Duryodhana and his party. The stories I can tell from Mahabharata for a long time, but suffice to say that they really had suffered at the hand of their cousins. And for Arjuna to express this kind of self-control and awareness of morality and integrity, Gita at the very outset establishes that. It's not a separate teaching of Gita, but it's implicit in a decent human conduct. And here Arjuna is saying the same thing, that I don't want this kingdom by killing my grandfather because it's just smeared with blood. And in this material world, somehow or other, by hook or crook, if we get something, it doesn't matter how, we are great. But Bhagavad Gita says, no, that's not true. You have to have some consideration of where it's coming from. Otherwise, you will be also implicated in that. Next verse, please. Na chaitad vidma kataranno gariyo yadva jayeme yadivano jayeyuhu. Yaneva hatva jijivishamas Devastita pramuke dhartarashtra.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield.
Thank you. One of the things that I mentioned in the previous class, we had 5 reasons why Arjuna decided. One of them was, Mansi, what are the 5 reasons? Please, that's the exact reason I'm asking.
Number 1, compassion for relatives. Number 2, lack of enjoyment. What will I do if I don't have anyone to enjoy with? Number 3, fear of sinful reactions. Number 4, kulakshay, destroying the family. Also destruction of the social order. All the men, if all the men is called, there is no one to protect the women and the children. And number 5, fear of conflict with relatives.
And the number 6th one I would mention was indecision. At this point of time, Arjuna is not sure. Should I completely undecided. When you are in the throes of dilemma, you don't know what to act. He says, should I fight or should I not fight? I have given you the reasons why, Next verse, please. Yes, Mataji.
Indecision is coming from the fear of
for the end result. He says that if I win, then the kingdom that I enjoy will be smeared with the blood of my ancestors. And if I lose, then I'm going to die on the battlefield. Neither of them seems to be palatable. Or rather, if I die and if I lose this battlefield, they will be victorious, even though they are evil-minded. So, my Kshatriya principles is kind of not sitting well with that. So, next verse, let's do it together. Not do it together, call and repeat. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha Prichami tvam dharma sammudha cheta Yachreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me Shishasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Kennedy.
Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
Thank you. So this is a pivotal change in Gita where both the friends who were talking or having a casual discussion, now the dynamics change. Arjuna is voluntarily saying to Krishna, Krishna, I am your student, I am your disciple, I am a soul surrendered unto you, please help me. One of the most beautiful verses that is used here is Karpanya dosho. The word that is used, Karpanya dosho, and translated, it's called miserly weakness. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that a Karpanya or a Kripana is a person who doesn't know the values of human form of life and dies like cats and dogs. That's the word he uses. But a person who doesn't know spirituality is a Kripana or a miserly person. And Arjuna identifies that his problem that he's facing right now is because of Karpanya dosha, which means lack of spiritual knowledge. So this material problem that he's facing, he's asking for a spiritual solution. And you can see how that all the problems that we face, if it is not tied with spirituality, and if the solutions are on a material plane, then the solutions itself become a problem. 110 years ago, we were going on horses. Man, that's terrible. They used to have rough roads. The horses would pass water and stool along the road. Yuck. And they said, let's get rid of it. Get automobiles. The roads look beautiful, clean, smooth, and it looks great. And 120 years later, we have the climate change problem that's caused by the automobiles. Yes, we solved one problem of going really fast and killed thousands of human beings, if not millions of human beings on road accidents, but that's a different story. And now we are facing the climate change problem. So the point is, we don't deride technology. We are not Luddites to say that anything technological is completely wrong. It is just when the solution to material problems is on a material plane, those solutions will become problems later. And here, Arjuna did not want a pep talk. He did not want Krishna telling, oh, you're doing great, this, that. No, he wanted deeply spiritual aspects. And then Next week also we have seminar by Radhika Raman Prabhu, which is, how material problems in fact have the final solutions in spirituality, not in materiality. So the Karpanya dosha is something very, that is the significant of that verse. Next. Next verse. Krishangi Mataji. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudya Yacho kamucho shanamindriyanam Avapya bhuma vasapatnaradham Rajam suranam api chadipatyam.
I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven.
Don't you get that feeling sometimes? Oh, I got this promotion, but I'm still not happy. No, even if I become a CEO of this company, I'll still not have any happiness. Exact same. It's one of this verse actually indicates the modern classic symptoms of depression. No matter what I get, I won't be happy. So what do I even try? Why do I even work for? What's the point even going to office or going to do business or whatever? And yeah. Next verse. So far so good. Any questions? Okay. 9. Sanjaya uvacha. Okay. Eva muktva hrishikesham. Gudakesha parantapaha. Nayotsya iti govindam. Uktva tushnim babuvaha. The mic is not on. Just push it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Translation. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent.
Thank you. You can see how Arjuna is maintaining his stance. He was not going wishy-washy kind of thing. He is very steady. So next verse, please. It'll come. Mataji is doing a lot. Okay. Text 10. Tamuvacha hrishikeshaha prahasan iva bharata senayor ubhayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. Back to Shweta, or anybody wants to read in the back? You want to give it a shot? Online, yes. Thank you, Shweta. That is really helpful. We'll ask the online people as well. No. Yeah. You have to turn on once they are done. Then.
O descendant of Bharata, at the time Paksha, smiling in the midst of both the enemy armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna.
Thank you. Here it's peculiar why Krishna is smiling. And it might be little, the reason Krishna is smiling is this, because he realized now he's no longer my friend and he's taken shelter of me, and soon his illusion will be destroyed. B, Arjuna is an eternally liberated soul. For Arjuna to fall into illusion in presence of Krishna, the Acharyas have explained Krishna deliberately put him into that illusion. And so the reason was that he could speak the Bhagavad Gita. One of the mission of Krishna was to speak the Bhagavad Gita. In the 4th chapter, actually, he gives the reason why he spoke Gita, because he says that this knowledge that is being passed from generations, because of time, that knowledge is destroyed. Now I have come to re-establish that knowledge. And so he's smiling also now that his time has come to give this knowledge to the entire world, this priceless treasure of Bhagavad Gita that can solve the problems eternally. Next verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochananvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha bhashase Gatasu nagatasumscha Nanushocanti pandita.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise demand neither for the living nor for the dead.
Thank you. And next, I'll ask those who are online, the students who are online can to read. So here Krishna starts off his instruction. Can you take the mic, please? Thank you. So Krishna starts off the instruction by saying that he indirectly, Prabhupada says that he calls him a strong word. He indirectly, Krishna calls Arjuna a fool. He says that you have talked big words, but you are lamenting for something that is not worthy of lamenting. And it is mentioned here that the wise neither lament for the living nor for the dead. And you know what? I'll just pick on people usually, so don't get me wrong. And then I pick on Akhil. So Akhil goes to office as usual and he's happy. And then somebody comes up to him and they are very visibly distressed, distraught. They are fighting back tears. And they reach Akhil. And they say, what happened? Well, our family pet died. It was our beloved. It was the only solace that we had growing up, and it just died. And then Akhil can have 2 or 3 options to respond to that. The first thing is, Akhil can say, you are a fool. You are lamenting for... Bhagavad Gita says you should neither lament for the living nor for the dead. You have no knowledge. That's A. And B is really, I'm so sorry to hear that. And then C is that I'm really sorry to hear that, but it's just the nature of this world. And, this is how it happens. Which option is better? 2 or 3 is better. The reason is, while we learn from Gita, we have certain empathy as well. The reason why Krishna mentions is, passing away of dear ones, whether be it a pet or a grandfather, it's a very traumatic incident. And people are left frustrated, confused, confounded, saddened to know why it happened, why that person is no longer with me. And, and then there is a sense of despair and some sort of frustration against this world. Gita is saying, sir and madam, when you come to this world, this is the reality you have to deal with. This is the level setting that we are happening. And when it happens like that, you have grief that the person passes away, but at the same time, you are not bewildered or shocked on why it happened. You knew it was inevitable. It was just, when it hits you, it truly hits you. And I'm saying it as a person who lost his father last year. And it was, in knowing Gita, you still have some lamentation. I'll give one story from Mahabharata, if that's okay. How are we doing on time? I think we can. I'll make it short because time. Arjuna, it was the 12th day of battlefield. The battlefield of Kurukshetra stretched to 18 days. And on the 12th day, Abhimanyu fought heroically. And he was killed by the 6 of the most powerful Kaurava warriors ganged up on Abhimanyu. And when you read that description of Abhimanyu fighting in Mahabharata, your hair stand on end. Just the mind-boggling description of how it happened. But long story short, Abhimanyu, who was all of 16 years old, and he was son of Arjuna, and he was killed in the battlefield unfairly. Because in that time, the Kshatriya code of conduct said that you cannot gang up and then kill a person. You'd have to have a fair fight, but there was an unfair fight and he was killed. So when was the Bhagavad Gita spoken? Before or after battlefield of Kurukshetra started? Before. The 12th day, 13th day means Arjuna heard Gita, established fact. So when Abhimanyu was killed, so all his brothers, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Nakul, Sahadev, they were with Abhimanyu when this happened, and they received the information, and when the fight ended for the day, they went back to their camp, and they were lamenting the death of Abhimanyu. Krishna and Arjuna were on the other side of the battle. And please remember, 3.94 million soldiers were there in Mahabharata. They covered an area of approximately 20 square miles. So, and they didn't have walkie-talkie and YouTube videos and all those days. So literally, if the fight was happening one side, you had no idea what was going on the other side. So Arjuna and Krishna, after finishing their day's war, they come back to their camp. Arjuna suddenly feels that something has gone wrong that day. Usually when Krishna and Arjuna come to their camp, the singers and the bards, they come jumping out, running out, glorifying Krishna and Arjuna for their heroic deeds, and there would be like music and dancing and poets singing. More importantly, his son Abhimanyu would come out to greet every day. This day, everything is quiet. He comes. There were no musicians coming out to greet him with joyous recitation of the heroic deeds. His son was not to be seen. And Arjuna and Krishna go into the camp with serious foreboding in their hearts. And indeed, they find that Yudhishthir and his brothers, they are sitting like this. And they don't know how to explain. And there's a long story on why they feel guilty, but that's a story for some other time. And Arjuna should have said, Krishna already chastised me once. He says that you should neither lament for the living nor for dead. Abhimanyu is gone. Let's go. No. Arjuna initially, he was extremely sad. He wept uncontrollably. Then his sadness gave rise to cold fury, as it's mentioned in Mahabharata. He wanted to avenge those who caused the death of his sons. So the point is that even though we learn Gita, we don't become stones. That's the point I'm trying to make. We still have feelings, but at least we know that this is the world that we signed up for. This is the reality of this world according to Krishna. And this is inevitable. As much as that person has passed away, I too will pass. And everybody who is going to be in this world are going to kind of give up their bodies. So that philosophical understanding will give you strength. And you can be able to tolerate that grief better, digest it or analyze it better. But if you don't put this in place, that why did he die so early? And there will be so much of churning in the heart. And so far so good. Questions, comments? All right. Next verse. Natvevaham jatunasam. Okay, let's try that again. So the TV and Eva, for those, it's squished. It becomes Tveva. So it goes Natvevaham jatunasam. Natvam neme janadipa. Na chaiva na bhavishyamaha. Sarve vayamata param. All right. Online, anybody who wants to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, this is Palika Lakshmi Devi Dasi. Prabhuji, I can read, but I can't see the screen.
Oh, so it's
Oh, yeah. Now I can.
Okay.
Translation. Yes, translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be.
Thank you so much, Palika Lakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Mark this verse because we'll come back to it a little later. Next verse. Dehinosmin yata dehe Kaumaram yovanam jara Tata dehantara praptir Dhiras tatra namuhyati. Online, please. Anybody?
Hare
I can
Krishna,
read.
Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
Thank you. So Krishna gives two examples to explain this in an analytical fashion. This is one example. Anybody, please raise the hand if the following statement is true. Please raise the hand if the following statement is true. I am 5 years old. Was I 5 years old at one point of time? Thank you. So, I was 5 years old at one point of time. I'm no longer 5 years old. That body I had is completely gone now. Yes or yes? The mentality, the food, the aspirations, the desires, everything is gone. A 5-year-old boy can eat, or girl, can eat chocolate all day long. They will have a sugar high. Next day, they will brush it off and they are back to normal. If I do that today, I'll have diabetes and die. The same person, this is the same, I was, my God. And then now at this age, if I have a birthday and I go to my mother, I say, please give me toys for my birthday. She'll be like, what's wrong with you? You are my mother. I was 5-year-old. You used to give me toys as birthday. Well, you no longer are 5-year-old. What's wrong with you? What was cute at 5 is very, very disturbing at the age of whatever I am today, which is 50 plus. But then, where did that body go? Krishna is, then the biggest problem is, I still remember that particular body that I inhabited. But I no longer have that body. That body is long gone. And medical science says that every 7 years, every single cell of your body is replaced. Effectively, every 7 years you have a brand new body. That body that you had 7 years ago doesn't even exist, cell by cell, so to speak. Then, who am I that is witnessing the change? That body technically is completely dead and gone. No stretch of medical miracles, science, procedures, intonations, incantations will bring that body back to me. But then the question is, why did I witness, or who is that that's witnessing the change of the body? Krishna is saying, just soul that is in the body, that was in the 5-year-old body, that was in the 10, 15, 25, 50, that now I am at, that soul will not change, but the body will change. As much as the 5-year-old body of mine is completely dead and gone, but I still exist, Krishna is saying after a death, a person takes on a new body. So why are we lamenting this change of bodies? This is the example, one example Krishna gives. Is that a beautiful example? Because it's a very practical thing as well. And as I said, Krishna is not even discussing any philosophy. It's pure logic till verse number 30. He gives the facts and we can ascertain it by logic. So far so good? Questions? Yes. Yes. So Shweta asks, what is the one thing that uniquely identifies the body? It is I'm the soul. So I am not changing. My body is changing, but I am not changing. So that is the unique soul that is just witnessing the changes. And I cannot control those changes. I mean, nobody, if you go and ask, say, what is the best part of life? Well, the most fun I'll have is when I'm 80. Nobody will say it. It's a struggling period, all said and done. Your limbs are not having that strength. Your sensual faculties are just going down. It's a hard life at that point of time. Nobody says that's fun part. But then I cannot force myself. And I'm a unique soul just placed in this body, witnessing the change of the body. I'm distinct from this body and its changes. In material world, the problem comes when I identify with that change, thinking I am changing. But Krishna is saying, you are not changing. It is just your body is changing. You are distinct from the body. And that knowledge is so liberating. Gita, this knowledge is so liberating that, you will realize that this body is going to be destroyed. I have a higher purpose in life just to worry about this body. I'll give you one more thing. 5-year-old, how much money was I earning? I was just at the mercy of my parents, right? From the time I was born, I was raised, I was at the mercy of my parents, yet here I am today, survived that period. Krishna is saying this body and the bodily maintenance is being taken care of. But you think you are the body, then you feel, oh my God, I need to take care of my body. Oh my God, there is a scar here. Oh, what will people think? So you can see how identifying with the body is the source of anxiety. And Krishna is saying you are not that. You are identifying something which you are not. And analytically, he explains more. More questions? Shweta, good? Right. Yes, Mataji, what's your good name again? Gandhi. Hare Krishna. Pranams. You can use the mic because there are people online. And
Pranams, Prabhuji. Thank you. Prabhuji, when we say that the soul is not changing, I have a question. Depending upon the karma, whether either the soul gets more polluted or the soul gets purified, is that not considered as a change, Prabhuji, as we wade through the time factor?
I'm thinking of a good example. You hold on to that thought. We'll come to that.
Sure.
So a short answer to your question is, the good and bad karma gives good and bad results that affects my body. But my soul is still not going to change. So I have another thing. I remember I didn't get that. Maybe somebody of you got a menu card before you were born. Which country were you born? Which man, women, fair color skin, black color skin, how much height you want. No, we are just born. So in the same way, our karma, so it is mentioned that each jiva has infinite karma in store. Since time immemorial, we have taken birth and we have died. We have performed so much of karma. This life, Krishna says, okay, amongst all this ocean of karma, I'll pick up some, I'll give you this much, and this is your life. So that is called prarabdha karma, and we'll do it in the Nectar of Devotion in the 4th semester. And my lifespan is this much of karma is allotted this life. And there is so much still remaining. And then based on my activities, either I add to it or deplete to it, and then it go to the next life. Then I'll get some more karma, go to the next life. In that way, if I do good and bad, I'm just contributing to the bank balance, but I am still continuing the cycle of birth and death till I come to the spiritual realization. Is that helpful? Thank you. Other questions? All right. Next verse. We have, which verse we are on? 11th? 14th? Okay, we'll have few more verses to go. Kindly repeat after me. Matra sparshastu kaunteya Sitoshna sukha dukkhada Agama payino nityas Tam stitikshasva bharata. Navin, online.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Actually, when I read Bhagavad Gita for the first time, this verse gave me great hope. One of the people who are going through tough phases of life, I think the biggest problem is lack of hope. Will it ever end? Will I ever see the light at the end of tunnel? And Krishna is promising, yes. It might seem interminably long period of downward situation of my life, but Krishna is guaranteeing here in this verse. Just like people who want to have good times, will they last forever? Nope. Similarly, the negative also won't last forever. It is just Krishna is saying, at that period, that stretch you have to tolerate. Don't get disturbed. And if you can learn the great art of tolerating the difficulties, Krishna is saying, a time will come, it will go away, because this is just the nature of this world. So, however difficult one's life is, or the struggle that one is going right now, please be reassured that it will terminate sooner than later. One has to learn to tolerate. And how to do it, what are the things, those are all details, but this is the principle. Anyways, next verse, please. Mansi Mataji. Mata, you have to use the mic.
What does sense perception here mean?
Okay, I'll give an example. Actually, you know what? Since Tim is not there, I'll still use him. You have the power of attorney for him. So Tim is actually sleeping one night. He has a dream that he is the king of Mountain View. He's going on his horse and he has a crown. paper crown, but still he has a crown. And then he is like going around, and people are showering rose petals on him, and they are just, they are just glorifying him. And then huge throngs of people are all on the side, and the Tim is like really laughing, happily laughing at the dream. And then he's suddenly he sees that there is a bee that is coming on the horse, and he just tries to kick away that bee. And then because he's in the sleep, he kicks Vicky. And then again the bee pesteringly comes, and he kicks again. And then Vicky had enough. So she takes a glass of cold water, puts on his face. He's shaken up. So as long as he had the contact with the dream, there was an experience of pleasure. So matra sparsha means the senses. So for example, please imagine that I have sense which is tongue, but a sense object has to be there, or the sense perception has to be there that gives me the taste of that object. If my nerve endings in the tongue are completely gone, then, or COVID, perfect example. Taste. The food was there, but I couldn't taste it, because the sense and the sense object have to be there for that contact, for the taste to come about. He says that's at matra. Matra is the sense objects, and touch of those sense objects will produce happiness or distress. Krishna is saying that is the material world. Matra sparshastu kaunteya.
But for example, happiness and distress, some of the things that happen in life, like losing someone or losing a job, how is that related to sense? That is something that's happening to us, isn't it, Prabhuji?
So we have many senses. The senses include mind, right? So mind okay. Now you get it. Yeah. More questions? Yes, Shweta. Shweta, you have to use the mic so that everybody else can listen, online especially. And if you can repeat that question.
So my question is, when you mentioned that this is material world, and we have to go through all the negative phases or the distress, and it's temporary, and we just have to go through it. But there are many senior devotees, very senior, Acharya Pad, and he's not in a state where he can talk, but he's been given different tools to give speeches. What do you say for that?
So did everybody get the question first? So he says the essence of her question is, if we have to struggle in the material world, what about those very advanced souls in Krishna consciousness who are also struggling? And their struggles seem to be somewhat even extreme than the ordinary people. What about that? And she gave an example of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. So when we surrender to Krishna, the karmic reactions don't take place. I'll give an example. If you are a prisoner and you are normally going around in prison, then you are treated like a normal prisoner. You'll get the good and bad. But if you have some connection with the governor of California, while you won't get immediately out, there is always a certain amount of protection that happens. And whatever happens in the prison is directly under the governor of California, not the jail warden. So on the path of karma, you have to get the good and bad. But if you surrender to Krishna, Krishna destroys that karma. Even the negative things, so-called negative things that happen, is Krishna's way of purifying you further. It is directly under his control. That is a better deal. I mean, in fact, it might be saying that if I become a devotee, things have become even worse. But it is happening under the will of Krishna, and there is a reason for that. Better take that rather than say, Krishna is a tricky fellow, not sure. Is that okay? It's better to remain surrendered to Sri Hari.
Can I add something on that?
Yes, please.
Because I always say Guru Maharaj, and he's also suffering so much bodily sufferings he has. But I always think in a way that Krishna always liked to glorify his devotees. And when we see these, really highly elevated souls going through bodily sufferings, I must say, not the spiritual suffering. I always feel that Krishna is exemplifying that how my devotees, they are so surrendered and attached to me that even though they are going through such a difficult time, they are steady on the path.
Thank you.
So inspirational to see them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking, forget all that. Arjuna was depressed here right next to Krishna, for crying out loud. I mean, what can go wrong if you are next to Krishna? You can be Arjuna completely depressed. And somehow, through that state, Krishna is encouraging surrender by Arjuna. And when Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, you can see through the entire 18 chapters, all his problems are solved. And then Arjuna is completely regenerated. He says, I'm ready to fight now. So that to re-establish our relationship with Krishna, at what is the cost, doesn't matter. I'm ready to pay that cost. And that is the price of surrender. And Krishna will never, ever, ever renege, cheat, turn his face against his devotees. He's always so kind to his surrendered devotees. That he says, I don't care about my own word. I don't care about my own opulence. I'll just go protect my devotees. In fact, it happened in the Mahabharata that Arjuna was really he was like, he says, I don't want to fight my grandfather. It actually carried into battle of Kurukshetra. He was like very soft going against Bhishma. Bhishma was pounding them with arrows, and he was not going back at full force. And Krishna was urging, please, 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 you have to kill Bhishma. Otherwise, we will lose this battle. Our our soldiers are being slaughtered by Bhishma. You have to kill him. And then actually Krishna picks up the chariot wheel ready to kill Bhishma. He said, I don't care about my word. And then Arjuna comes to his senses. He's like, please. So he is that much of a benevolent personality towards his devotees. Is that helpful? All right. Okay, we will go a little faster because I wanted to, maybe it's, we'll see as we go. Next verse. This is verse number 15, thank you. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshaba samadukha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpate. Online? Anybody? If not, it's back to Shweta, please.
Translation. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Thank you. Next verse, please. Nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha ubayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tatvadarshibhihi.
Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
Thank you. One of the beauty here, Arjuna, Krishna brings up this statement, and sometimes it is surprising. He says, experts have said this. Well, Krishna is the supreme expert. All he has to say is, it is to be like this and it will be like that. But the beauty is, even Krishna also refers occasionally in Gita to saying that the sages have said this, the scriptures have mentioned this. He is the absolute truth, but he sometimes uses this. And here he is saying that, look, material body, you cannot hold on to it. Spiritually, you cannot change. So, if you can understand this, then you will become really, how do you say, study in this world. Next verse, please. Avinashitu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Akhil, you can't? Voice? Okay, yeah, please. No, yeah, Shaurabh and then, both of you. Both of you didn't get a chance.
Translation. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be the indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul.
Thank you. And pervades the entire body, it's pretty easy. Because if you are walking, even though like there is a small thorn in the smallest corner of your foot, you will know that, because the soul is in this body, and I pervade this entire body. Not that I pervade in my hand and my leg, I don't know what's happening. So you pervade this. Okay, next verse. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata.
Translation. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata.
Thank you. Next verse. Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate.
Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain.
Thank you. So it's okay, right, to kill animals and eat them? Yeah. Neither he who thinks he is slain, I'm just killing the body. I'm not killing the soul. Yeah. Karma. Here it's, if you see the purport a little bit, please. So here Srila Prabhupada writes, this does not, however, at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injunction, ma himsyat sarva bhutani, never commit violence to anyone, nor does the understanding that the living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. Killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punishable by the law of state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjuna, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically. So one humorous note here is that a person who kills another person goes in front of the judge, says that according to Bhagavad Gita, the soul is never dead, only the body is dead, so I killed the body. So you cannot find me guilty of killing that person because that person can never die. And the judge will say, I will punish you to death and I'm only killing your body, not your soul. Bye, have a nice day. Right? So it doesn't work like that. This half-baked knowledge is very dangerous to kind of have that knowledge and then not have the complete understanding. Next verse. Krishangi Mataji, thank you. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire.
For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Thank you. It's such a relief. And it's such a burden as well to continue in this world. Oh my God, I need to get out. I need to realize my actual position. Because if I'm never going to die, if I say, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, no loitering in this world, if you want to loiter, then you'll keep on getting different bodies. So having this knowledge, it should impel us. Seriously, I should make a permanent solution instead of taking on multiple bodies. This body is painful. I'm pretty sure the other bodies I get is also going to be painful. It's not going to be exciting. So. Next verse. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajamavyayam katam sapurusha partha Kam ghatayati hantikam.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill?
Thank you. Text 22. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani Anyani samyati navani dehi.
As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Thank you. So this is example number 2. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yonam jara. That's the first example where the boyhood to youth to old age. And in this example, Krishna is giving the example of garments. As we put on the garments and when they become old, then we get new garments, correct? I mean, does anybody make a big deal when they have to go and shop for new clothes? I'm happy. It's like old. Yes, anyway, it's looking old. So otherwise, you will never see people going to the cloth store and then there is a mourning section where you have to give up your old clothes and you cry and have a funeral ceremony. No, you don't do that. So Krishna is saying that the body that I have right now is actually like a cloth that's covering my soul. And based on my activities, I get different types of bodies. And when they become old, I get new bodies. So Krishna is saying you are lamenting the killing of your grandfather, but your grandfather is actually old, so you should be rejoicing in they getting new bodies. Next verse. Nainam chindanti shastrani Nainam dahati pavakaha Na chainam kledayantyapo Na shoshayati maruta.
The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Thank you. Prabhupada writes that in the modern world we just have fire weapons, whether they are missiles, nuclear bombs, bullets, whatever, it's just pure fire weapons. And he says that in the olden times they were actually weapons made out of water, weapons made out of wind, and so on and so forth, but nothing would destroy that soul. So, text 24. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha Nitya sarvagata stanur Achaloyam sanatanaha.
This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
Thank you. Present everywhere can be like a confusing thing. What do you mean? I'm just present here in this room. I'm not in my house, correct? How can you say present everywhere? This is a little odd. And assuming that in the liberated state, the soul can still, not have these material limitations, the soul cannot, here the answer is, present everywhere is the soul can inhabit everywhere. So for example, the soul can inhabit only on the land. Is that true? True or false? Because we find soul in the water, fishes for example, or soul in the air, bacteria or other microorganisms. So in that sense, the soul can also be in sun. So it is spread everywhere. There is no limitation for the soul. And that's the reason it's said present everywhere. Not that the soul and the super soul are the same and yes, I can be there everywhere. If that is the case, that would be nice, right? You can be present not only everywhere, but also past, present and future, which stocks to trade. Anyways. Yes, sir. Your name?
Madhav.
Madhav. Hare Krishna, Madhav.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, question. When you say soul, we talk about soul and a body. So is it a body is binding soul?
Is body binding the soul? Can you please elaborate?
So when we say I'm present here, my soul and my body is here, but why as previous verse say like it can be everywhere, but I'm not everywhere. My body and soul are binding here in this room. So is that the truth, like, body is binding the soul? Without body, the soul can be everywhere, anywhere.
So when I say soul is everywhere, I'm referring to like COVID. Was COVID everywhere? Yes. But COVID molecules are there in different places. In fact, they said that COVID cannot survive hot regions. But India did get COVID. So which means just like that, the atomic soul actually can be pervading everywhere or inhabiting everywhere. Not that the soul can actually spread its awareness everywhere. Even in the liberated state, the soul cannot spread that awareness everywhere like God. Only God can actually do that to spread the awareness. Is that helpful? Thank you. Next verse, okay. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Thank you. Next verse. Text 26. Ata chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi. Go for it. Who's?
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
Thank you. And next, whoever is online can read. Here, Krishna changes attack a little bit. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, the modern scientists don't believe in soul. And in fact, there are quite few philosophical, religious thought processes that don't believe in soul. Krishna is saying, assuming, let's take for the argument that you don't believe in soul. You are seeing that since time immemorial, people are born and people are dying, which means if I am not a soul, I'm just a lump of matter. And somehow I have got some consciousness by some manipulation. So there is, these lump of chemicals are creating and getting destroyed, creating and getting destroyed. And you are seeing that happen all over the place. So why are you lamenting? So Krishna is taking the devil's advocate, or playing the devil's advocate in this argument here. And Prabhupada writes that in the purport as well. Text 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur. Okay, let's do that again. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Tasmad apariharyarthe. Thank you. Tasmad apariharyethe. Haryerte. Natvam shochitumarhasi. Online, anybody?
Prabhuji, can I read?
Online? Okay, yes.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll read.
Yes, please. Palika Lakshmi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, what do you learn from Gita? Anything astrological you learn? This is what you learn. If one is born, is sure to die, and one who is, who's passed away is sure to take birth again. But here, it doesn't mean you take birth again in the material or spiritual world. It is not that you'll keep on taking birth again. That is not the purpose. It's mentioned here. All right. Next verse. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Anybody online? All right. Sitarani Masi. Okay. Somebody is doing online. You can take it next. Wait. Yeah, go for it.
Translation. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginnings, manifest in their interim states, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation?
Thank you. Here Krishna is saying, look, you never had a body before. Now when you took birth, you have a body. And when you die, you'll give up that body. So this is going on up and down. So why are you lamenting? Text 29. All right. This is the Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam Ascharyavad vadati tataiva chanyaha. Ascharyavat-chainamanya shrinoti. Shritvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschid. Online, anybody?
Hare Krishna. Some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing. Some hear of him as amazing. While others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
So here, the nature of soul is truly amazing. And I'll tell you why. So if I am a materially conditioned person, I don't know who I am, right? And then you approach a guru, you learn scriptures, you do so many things to realize yourself. But what if I realize myself, I'm not sure and I need somebody else to tell? Are you able to get my logical argument? Now I am conditioned. I don't know who I am. I'm ignorant like Arjuna. I approached Krishna. And then Krishna gave me instructions. And I am become self-realized, which means somebody has to tell me I am self-realized. Otherwise, how will I know? And then it will become infinite regress. While you reach the next level, somebody has to tell you. And then it can go on infinity. The answer here is, the soul is so amazing that the soul has the capacity to illuminate itself. Once you realize it, you are able to see yourself. I'll give an example. If it is pitch dark, do you use a torchlight to see what's around? Yes or yes? So that torchlight will illuminate everything else, but will also illuminate itself. You can see what is the color of the torchlight. Is it blue? Is it green? Yes, right? So the nature of soul also is self-illuminating, which means it will not only show you the world as it is, but you are able to see it yourself. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why the soul is called an amazing, because you can see the soul can, one of the other things is, some see soul as amazing through self-realization, some hear, so those who are on the path of self-realization, and those who are completely materialistic, they will say, what soul? Who has seen soul? YOLO. You live only once. Enjoy life. So you can see how so many people have so many perceptions. Next verse. Dehi nityam avadyoyam Dehe sarvasya bharata Tasmat sarvani bhutani Natvam shochitum arhasi. All right. If there's nobody online, you go for it. Kennedy or somebody who can just.
O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Thank you. Next verse. So, verse number 30, Krishna instructs or concludes his instructions of the analytical nature of the soul. So, from this verse on to 37, he's talking or reminding Arjuna about his duty. Forget, okay, we had a good theoretical chat, a fireside chat. It all looks good, but now practical aspects. Let's discuss the practical aspects. Swadharmam api chaveksha navikampitum dharmadyudya shreyonya kshatriyasya na vidyate.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Thank you. Shweta, you can do next round. Next verse. Yadrichaya chopapannam Svargadvaramapavrutam Sukhina kshatriya partha Labhante yuddhamidrisham.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Here Krishna is just urging Arjuna, now you can see how you are saying that you don't want to fight, but your duty is a Kshatriya. You better pick up your bow. Don't let it go. So, and he says that Kshatriyas by nature don't want to go and fight, kill people, but this is an opportunity that has come unsought. So go for it. Next verse. Ata chetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatah swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi.
If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
So Krishna is reminding Arjuna, you are leaving the battlefield out of compassion for your relatives, but your relatives are not going to see like that. They will think you have just run away from the battlefield and they'll just deride you and mock you, and your reputation as a fighter will just go out of the window. So don't think it's happening like that. Next verse. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtir maranad atirichyate. Mansi Mataji or who? Okay, go for it, yeah.
Translation. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Thank you. Next one. Bhayad ranad uparatam mamsyante tvam maharatha esham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam.
Translation. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Thank you. Next verse. Avachyavadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahita nindantastava samartyam tato dukkhataram nukim.
Translation. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and score your ability. What could be more painful for you?
Here, Krishna is giving a frank picture. They are not going to give you a Nobel Prize for peace because you saved so many millions of soldiers from dying. They will really mock you and scorn you. So, the last verse for the day at least. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshyase mahim tasmaduttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nischayah. Mansi Mataji, go for it.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Thank you. So, here Krishna concludes the portion after explaining the analytical knowledge of the soul and the body. Here in these verses, Krishna is inspiring Arjuna that don't think that your willingness to forego battle will be construed as an act of charity. Rather, you will be mercilessly mocked by your enemies who think that you just run away from the battlefield out of fear. So here he gives his final verdict. Either you win your kingdom, or those who actually die on the battlefield of a religious battle go to heavenly planets. So either of those options, now you just can't not fight. We have 5 more minutes. When is the class? 3:30? 3:30, right? Okay. So we have about 5 minutes. I wanted to have a long talk or explain one of the verses, but I will say it in a nutshell. And the verse number I'm talking is 214, I guess. No, 212. 212, Mataji, Krishangi Mataji. 12, 12, 212. Thank you. So let's I'll read the translation and I'll read the purport. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in future shall any of us cease to be. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to their individual work and the reactions of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by His plenary portions, alive within the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman tamatmastam yenu pashyanti dhiras tesham shanti shashvati netaresham. The same Vedic truth is given to Arjuna, is given to all the persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternal individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Individual Person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It's not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it's not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality is existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation anyone. This verse is picked out by Srila Prabhupada because it highlights an important point. Krishna says, Natvevaham jatunasam natvamni. He is distinguishing between, he's saying that I did not exist, you did not exist, all these kings did not exist. So, and in future we shall never cease to be. So if you can see that Krishna is the supreme and we jivas are subordinate. The Mayava theory of illusion says that we'll all get mushed into one, but Krishna is saying not, because if we all get mushed into one into future, then Krishna will not say in future we shall be. Then it's a lie, correct? In future also the individuality is maintained, and Krishna is saying that my individuality is maintained. This is one purport I wanted to go deep into, to establish the fundamental philosophy, not just of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but of many other schools who say that Lord is distinct from us. We can never become that Lord. And Prabhupada's purport goes deep into it. And I wished I had the time to go deep into the purport as well, because if we fundamentally discuss these, then we become strong in Siddhanta, saying that God is God, we are we, and we are subordinate to Him. Otherwise, there will be so many theories that kind of say, no, you are that God, you are that. And this purport goes really deep into it. And what are the arguments back and forth? Because it's a deep purport. If you take time to read, you can read the purport. And if you can get some time, sometime during the course of Bhakti Sastri, I would like to discuss and go deep into this verse, Natvevaham. That why is the Lord saying, I, you, all these kings, who, in the past, in the present, in the future. And somebody might say that you are together just on the bodily level. There are so many nuances and arguments to this particular verse. So I would highly recommend to read this verse. And it's and I'm sorry to say the purport is not super straightforward, but when we get time, we can discuss this at length. Now that it's almost 3 o'clock, I think we should stop here. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for coming and spending the time. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patanam